This is CSS tutorial, and now we are in the week of fifth. Now we are in the fifth week, and today is April 17th. Just after first online quiz test, we are learning this CSS tutorial. Okay, in this w3schools.com URL, you can be here, and here you can click this one, Learn CSS. Then we can see this CSS tutorial. Okay, I'll try to enlarge a little bit. Okay, then here we can see this one enlarged, and you cannot see the left menu because of this is responsive web design, and we learn about it. Let's follow this one. CSS is a language that describes the style of an HTML document, and the CSS describes how HTML elements should be displayed. And this tutorial will teach CSS from basic to advanced. And this one is explaining about the structure or organization of this tutorial. And as we learned already, and as we looked at already in the HTML tutorial, this is the same structure. And this one is explaining some examples. And this one is showing some templates, and this one is providing some exercise and the quiz test you can try, and this one is also providing some CSS related references, and also this one is providing some CSS exam. That's mainly for this w3schools.com, this company's business model. Thus, you don't need to worry about this online certification. Okay, let's start. This one is really the first chapter, CSS introduction. What is CSS? What does that stand for? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. And this one is describing how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, paper, or in other media, but we'll focus on that screen. And this CSS saves a lot of work in terms of the design. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once due to the external CSS file we learn. External external CSS, external style sheets. These style sheets are stored in CSS file that is called external style sheet. Among three different kinds of CSS styles, this one is one of them we learn. Let's look at this demonstration about using CSS. These contents, HTML contents, that is exactly the same, but depending upon the different style, we can see the different feeling because of that design relate to that CSS. Let's look at the style one first, style sheet one first, like this. Even though the main contents are exactly the same, we can see different feeling depending upon that CSS style. Another one. Also this one, also another one, this one. Also, if we are not using style sheet, then this is very plain and simple web page. Thus, depending upon the CSS style design, we can show the different feeling, and we can provide a different design. Like this, same page, different style sheets. We learn in this tutorial Then why we are using CSS? This CSS is used to define styles for our web pages, including the design, layout, and the variations in display for different devices. For example, personal computers that monitor screen or the smartphone screen. The sizes are different, right? And depending upon the screen, we can see some appropriate design. And with this CSS, we can provide to the customer. If we are the development engineer in terms of this HTML and the CSS JavaScript web page designer, we should provide using this CSS design. For example, CSS example here, this one is using CSS style. Anyhow, we learn later. This one is body. Body, that element is selected, and we can apply this design style. This one is property, and this one is the property value. For the H1 element, we can apply different design. Color will be white, and text align should be centered. Also for paragraph, we can provide a different design. This one is the definition for that, or declaration for that. Okay, let's try this one. Even though this one is very simple, the whole web page, body area, that the background color is here defined with this light blue color. And H1 is this one, and that is the color is white, and the text is aligned in the center like this. Paragraph is like that, and here this one is the internal style. We can remove. Okay, we can remove this one. Cut, and we'll run. Then you can see this one is not using any style, and this is just using HTML, that is main contents here, but without any design, because we are not using style here. Thus we'll recover again. Let's go back to the previous one. Then okay, I'll paste here. Then you can see, depending upon that style, and that design is applied to these plain HTML contents. Due to this CSS, we can solve many problems in terms of design. And here, let's follow this one. HTML was never intended to contain tags for formatting a web page. And HTML was created to describe the content of a web page, as we observed already. Thus, in terms of design, to solve that problem, the World Wide Web Consortium, that the short name and acronym is W3C, that is World Wide Web Consortium. This one is standardization body, and this one made some standards in terms of this design. This is CSS. Thus, with this CSS, we can remove the style related or design related formatting from the HTML page, and we can simplify that HTML page. In terms of design, we can concentrate, we can focus on the CSS in terms of design. Thus, this CSS saves a lot of work in terms of design. Let's look at this syntax. If we want to use CSS, then how about that syntax? This one is explained about that. CSS syntax. Here, selector. Which element should be selected to apply this design? That is the following one is the declaration. And in that declaration, we can see the property and the value pair. property and value we can enumerate here. This one is explaining about it again. The selector here, element, this one points to the HTML element we want to style. And this declaration block, this one is containing one or more declaration. And those are separated into this delimiter, semicolon. And property value pair will be enumerated here. Each declaration includes a CSS property name. This is property name. And property value. This is value for that. And those are separated by a colon, like that, colon. And this one is using these curly braces to show that declaration. Inside of the curly braces, this one is containing the declaration of that style. Declaration block, that is. Simplified one. Let's look at this one. P element that is selected. We can apply this style to that specific element, P element. And here we can see some enumerated property and value pairs, and those are separated into the semicolon. And also this property and value pair, we are using the semicolon between them. Okay, let's move to next. CSS selectors. We just looked at very simple example of using CSS and CSS selectors and so on. And this one is explaining a little bit more about that CSS element selector, for example here. Here, CSS ID selector. Previous one was just element here. Let's look at element selector. This one is element tag, p tag or p element. Another one. This one was introduced briefly in the HTML tutorial in the small CSS chapter, just to introduce what is CSS in that HTML tutorial. We just looked at briefly about this. This ID selector, depending upon that ID name, we can select like this. This hash character means the following one is ID name. And after that we can use these curly braces, that is declaration block, for that style. And another one, CSS class selector. Previous case was the special character was hash character, but to use this class selector and to use this class name, we should use the dot. That means that is class, and the following one is the class name. Example is like this. And okay, let's look at this example. Center, and this class name center, this one is using that style declared here, and we can change that color to different color, even to this. Even we can use this hexadecimal number. You can see the color is changed. And also we can use this class name in this way. In the previous case, ID name also we can use in this way. If that dot is following some element, then this one is belonging to that, and this class name is applied only to that element. Thus, this one is applied to that specific HTML element instead of the general application, like this. Here, p.center, that means the center class name center that is belonging to that p element. Thus, this center, if that is being used in that p element, like this class center, then that will be this one, this declared part, that will be applied the center and the red color, like that. But if this one is not using p and this element is h1, then you can see this one is not using any style. This one is showing just the default style. Black, the color is black. But if we want to use this class name generally, and any element can be used to use this class name center, then you can remove this one. Then instead of the specific application to that specific element, this one can be used generally. Thus, in any HTML element, this one can be applied if this one is using the class name center. Let's look at. Then you can see this one is being changed, and this one is using that defined, declared style, centered and red. Okay, this one is another different example. This one you can see, instead of a single class name here, we can enumerate many class names here. That means this class name, also this class, that the different styles can be applied to this specific HTML element here. Let's look at this real example here. Okay, let's look at this one. The others are simple, and this one is using that two class names here. One is center, another one is large. Thus, this center, name the center, and name the large class name. Those styles are applied. The center means that is centered and the color is red. Large means font size will be large, 300%, that is enlarged. Thus, only for that paragraph, here, this one, centered and enlarged, 300%, like that. You can apply, copy, and you can apply here. Okay, you can remove, then you can compare, like this. Okay, let's move to the next. The universal selector. In the previous example, we could select some specific element, but sometimes we want to apply this declared style to whole or too many elements at the same time. Then this one, asterisk, we can use this one. Then this one is universal selector. Then we can select all HTML elements on that page. Thus, we can apply this design, this declared design, we can apply to all HTML elements. Here, H1 elements here, and the P elements here, and we can apply that declared design to all of them. CSS grouping selector. grouping selector selects all HTML elements to the same style definition. Let's look at the following CSS code. Here we are using h1 element selector as a selector, and h2, that is select another selector and another selector p. If we want to apply same declaration, that means the three elements are grouped together, and we can separate them between them with this comma. Then the meaning of this is this declaration, style declaration, can be applied to this one, or to this one, and to this one. Let's look at. Thus, this is a little bit convenient. Instead of the describing different style declaration, we can simplify in this way. Okay, you can try other exercise, and this one is summarizing. How to add CSS. There are three ways we learned already, but let's try to review and try to understand a little bit more in detail about them. When a browser reads a style sheet, it will format the HTML document according to the information in the style sheet. Three ways to insert CSS. First one is inline in the HTML document, and still in the HTML document in front part, in the header section, we can embed that internal CSS. And third one, that style definition, that declaration is located in other file, and that may be located in the different folder or even in different server computer, and we can bring. And let's look at in this sequence. Here external CSS is first introduced. Externally, that file, CSS file, that is located. Thus this one is introduced briefly, but let's look at again here. Link, how to include, even though that is outside external file, and the file extension name should be CSS, and we should use this link HTML element, and REL means relationship, that relationship is style sheet, and the type text slash CSS. We can omit, but here fully, let's try to use fully here, but later we can simplify a little more than this. Thus externally, that file is located in some folder. If that is located in other server or computer, then in other full URL we should specify here. Here, let's assume my style.css, that external file, that the contents of that file is very simple, just like this. Style declaration, body tag, body selector, we can apply this style. h1 selector, h1 tag, we can apply this style. That is the external file. And we use that external file, external CSS, with the link element. We can use that external CSS file. Next one is internal CSS. This internal means internally in the same HTML document with the HTML element, the CSS style declaration is there, and we can apply to our design using that style. That is internal CSS. Here, like this, in this header section, you can see the style and the slash style that is closing that style declaration here, and inside of that you can see this style declaration block. And inline style, inline CSS, as the name is self-explaining, that is inline into that element that is in that line. And we are using the style attribute name here, and this double quotation character here. Inside of that, we can enumerate the property and the value pair with this color colon, and those property value pairs are separated into this semicolon. Then we can apply like this. And multiple style sheet. If some properties have been defined for the same selector in different style sheets, intentionally or sometimes with mistake that may be happening, the value from the last red style sheet will be used. Then which one will be applied? If we are defining in multiple way, for example, external style sheets containing some style declaration for the same element, and internal style also that is defining duplicatedly, and also inline. If let's assume that is the worst case, then which one will be applied? Internal style here. And let's look at this one. For example, this one, link outside, externally, that is defined. External file here, H1 is using color, navy color. Internal style sheet, let's assume that color is orange color, like this. And that is navy color. And this one is orange color. To the same element, then which color will be applied? Here. First one or second one? The answer is the last one. Here, orange color, that is applied. Most recent one. At the viewpoint of this H1 element, nearest one or the most recent one is this internal one. Then that color orange is applied to this. Another example, if that the order is changed, and here, let's look at this real example, that may be better. And here H1, let's look at this H1, and this one is the point, element, how that color will be changed in terms of that multiply defined, multiply declared styles. One is external, internal here, and another one is external. Here, this one is near, or this one is the most recent one, comparing to this one. Then this one will be applied. That is the order. There's this color, as we read already, that is navy color. Thus, instead of the orange color, this navy color will be applied to this H1 element here. That is called cascading. Thus, this one is explaining a little bit more about that order, cascading order. If those are defined, declared multiply, then how that can be cascaded, and there is some cascading order. What style will be used when there is more than one style specified for an HTML element? That is the question. That answer is like that. All the styles in a page will cascade into a new virtual style sheet by the following rules. That is the rule. Where number one has the highest priority, that means that it will be applied. Inline style, that is the highest priority inside an HTML, as we just looked at. And the second one is external and internal style sheet in the head section. And the third one is browser default. This is the lowest priority. You can try others. Okay, let's look at these comments. We should think about some comments like the C language or any other language like Python or other language. We need to get some mechanism or some tool to provide the comment statement to the other people in terms of the administration and the maintenance of that source code. And here there's a way to provide the CSS comments. And how? Like the C language or JavaScript, we are using this. Later we'll learn anyhow. This /*, and that is the comment statement, and we can close with this */ here, like exactly C language comment statement. Also, in front of that, we can use in that way. Also, we can use this comment statement in the same line into this CSS statement. Also, for multiple lines, we can do that in that way, like C language. CSS colors. Even though we briefly overviewed these colors in the previous HTML tutorial, this is exactly the same. With the color name, we can present the color, but that is the number of the colors that is so limited. Thus, we can use other way. For example, hexadecimal number, we can use that. Okay, this one is about the background color. Also, we can provide that the color here, it's the same scheme with the color name, but that the different kinds is so limited in terms of the different color. Thus, we can use other way, for example, hexadecimal presentation for the color. Text color can be presented in that way with the style, CSS style, color and the color name like that. Or instead of this, hexadecimal number can be used. Also, there are many application, many different areas to apply these colors. For example, this is border color, and for that border color, we can present the color like this: borderline thickness and the line style, and also the color here. The color value, this is RGB value we can use, as we learned in the previous HTML tutorial about the color. This is exactly the same. Also, this hexadecimal notation, that is possible. Also, this HSL, hue, saturation, lightness, also that presentation is also possible. Also, alpha value, in terms of the transparency, we can present together. We'll look at later a little more in detail about that. Okay, here. Okay, let's look at this one. Here, color, previous one, and next one is transparent. This one is showing some transparency. That is 50% transparent, like this, like this. How about 100? That means that is 1, because that number is between 0 and 1. And we can compare. And this one is, okay, this one is the value. This one is just the character string here, and this one is okay. Let's try to change this one. Then color will be applied to this number. Then you can see that is not transparent at all. This one is half transparent. Okay, you can try this one if you are more interested in these color values. This one is explain a little bit more about each one. RGB color, as we learned already, let's go through briefly. RGB, red, green, blue, with this decimal number, this is 1 byte. That means from the value can be 0 to 255 in decimal format. Like this, the value can be one of them. Between them, 0 and 255. Like this. Also, if we are using alpha value, that last one, fourth one, that is called alpha value, that is related to the transparency. Like this. Number 1, number 0 between them. 1 is not transparent at all, that means opaque. 0 is transparent. Like this. 0.2, that is being increased a little bit, then this one is not transparent, this one is transparent. Hex value, hex colors, hexa value we can use, that is RGB, this 16 bit, 16 1 byte, 8 bit, and hexadecimal notation. RGB we can show in this way, hexadecimal number. Okay, if you are sliding this bar, then you can show different colors. This one is controlling that green color. Okay, this one is controlling that blue color, and huge amount of different kinds of color. That is the 24 bit. That means 2 to the power 24. That means 16 million color can be presented in this scheme. Okay, also alpha value can be later. This is hexadecimal number, and the next one is also showing some HSL, hue, saturation, and lightness. Also in this presentation we can show color, and also force value, that is about transparency, we can include. Then we can show some transparency like this. HSLA, that is alpha value. Alpha value is depending upon that. Let's look at this one. Depending upon that, okay, that is transparent. That is not transparent at all. And this one is 50% transparent. Okay, CSS backgrounds. Okay, CSS backgrounds, background design is so important also. Think about your web page. And any web page that is using some background, then background color, background image, there are many things to consider in terms of design, and these CSS background properties can be used for that. Background color, or background image, or background repeatedness, or background attachment, or background position. First one, background color. Okay, background color can be controlled with this property name, background color. You can change the color. Also the color, as we learned already, in different presentation scheme we can use. Other elements, background color also the same, and transparency, opacity. This one is a different property name, opacity. That is controlling that opaque opacity related to the transparency. opacity is 0.1, almost transparent. Opacity, that is opaque, near to the one that is becoming opaque, not transparent at all. Also RGBA, we can, as we learned, we can apply here to this background. Background image. Sometimes we want to show some image in the background. Then we can use this property name, background image. Then how we can bring that image that may be located in the same folder or in different folder or even in different server, then how? This is the way how to bring that image, background image, and to bring that we should use this URL, and here we are describing the URL here inside of that parentheses. Then we can bring here paper.gif. Okay, here let's look at other example. For example, I'll try to show other example to bring different image from other web page, and then may show how to bring that remote image in different server, how to bring. And okay, this one is related to our not this one, probably this one is related to our lecture, and that is Korean guidebook. And I will copy the address, copy the image address, and I will try to use here. Okay, let's try to use the source code here. Then that image is being used here as background image. Then let's look at. Okay, that is not being shown proper here. This one is not working, and sometimes this editor is not supporting fully. Sometimes that may be brought properly, but this one is not brought properly. Thus I cannot show this. Okay, now this one is not being shown properly. Okay, you can try later. If we are using some Notepad or Visual Studio, then Visual Studio Code actually, then you can learn this source code, and in that case this one is not being used. Thus we are using different editor instead of this w3schools.com editor. Then that is working well, that may working well. Okay, here another example, URL, and that URL for that. And let's look at this repeatiness, background repeatiness. Sometimes we are showing that the background image here, and that is being repeated. Okay, let me. Even though that is not working, still I am trying to apply again. Okay, let me try to change that. That may not work, but I'll try. Okay, this one, the image is so, size is so big. Okay, this one is working well here. the background image, okay, I will try to enlarge. The original size of that image is so big, thus it is occupying whole area. You can try others. Later, anyhow, we'll look at some proper small image. Then we can understand better. Okay. We are repeating only, okay, repeatedness. Later, this one is not very good because simple image will be much better. This one is repeating extraction. Thus, okay, if we are not repeating, no repeat, we are not repeating. Later we'll look at. Here dash, that is missing. Okay, that we let's try to use this one instead of the previous example. Okay, this one is good to understand better. Okay, here about the repeatingness, still this one is explained about that repeatingness. Previous example was not very clear enough. And here single image here and no repeat, then here this one is single image including that bird here, owl probably, and this tree and owl, and this is no repeat, but the default is repeating. If I am trying to remove that, then you can see that is being repeated automatically to occupy the whole space. If that space is, the window screen size is big, then this one is repeating again and again, horizontally and vertically. But if we are using no repeat, then only single image, then single image, the original single image, that will be shown like that. Even though that screen window size is big enough, it is not repeating. That is about background repeatingness. Okay, let's try to close the open tabs. Background position. Even some position of that background image we can control. This is about this. And where? That should be shown. Right and top. Right and top. Then what else? Instead of that, left and top. LEFT. Left and top. Then that will be moved to the left side like this. Well, instead of this top, bottom, then that will be moved to the bottom. You can try later. Background attachments. Still, this one is related to the background image, and we can control the attachment. What's that? This background attachment property specifies whether the background image should scroll or be fixed. That means it is not being scrolled. Okay, let's look at that real example. Then that will be better for understanding. Here, background attachment, that is fixed. Then fixed. Let's try to enlarge this one. You can see that is fixed. That is about this background attachment, that is fixed. Okay, I'll try to remove that. Fixed. Then that is showing some default property value. Still that is default. Okay, learn. Okay, still that is. Okay, you can see that is scrolled together. Let's go back to the original one. Not this one. Attachment. Fixed. That is the value for that. Then, even though I am scrolling, you can see that is fixed. But default is not fixed. That is being scrolled together. Okay, you can try others. This one is probably the last one about the background property. Background shorthand. Shorthand means some shortcut, some simplified way. If we are enumerating many background related properties here, and property name and property values here, instead of that, just simply we are using background instead of fully describing other following property names. Then may be difficult to remember, also difficult to type wrong property names. Instead of that, simply we can use this background. That is shorthand. Then just enumerate the values like this. It is simplified background, the property name, and just property values, those are following like that. Then we can apply many different background properties together like that. The color, the image URL, the repeatedness, and the position for that we can control. Instead of right, how about changing one is this one, simply left. Also even color, also instead of this white, how about this color? Then you can see that is the position is in the left top, and also the color is this. This is called shorthand property. The order of the property values is usually color, image, repeat, attachment, position. Sometimes, even though the orders are a little bit different, a little bit changed, it is working. But that is not guaranteed. But the order, to keep order, that is recommended. You can try others. Okay. Let's try to use these borders. Okay, this is the good point to wrap up here.